So obviously Bluey is the most popular children's show right now. It's on Disney Plus. And because of its popularity, it seems like there are a lot of adults, particularly activists, who are intent on ruining it for everyone. This first came to my attention because they recently put out an episode called The Sign, and a bunch of elder millennial parents who have their kids watch Bluey are extremely invested in the show now, to the point where it's almost disturbing.
You think this is audience capture?
Yeah, I do think that they're starting to write these episodes for the adult audience, not the kids. Because, like, I don't, what shows did you, like, what cartoons did you grow up watching?
Oh, I don't even
like, what did you
know.
like?
I didn't really watch a whole
I was just,
cartoons.
I watched The Fairly Odd Parents. I watched SpongeBob.
I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
You know, things like that. Just, and I wanted to laugh at Patrick Star being stupid. Okay? Yeah. Like, it doesn't need to be some weird, like, therapeutic teaching moment that, like, where all the characters are crying and, like, learning life lessons. Like, it doesn't need to be fake deep for kids. They're making it fake deep for adults.
Yeah, I watched Thundercats and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I didn't need deeper meanings in those shows.
And that's, you know, bad enough. But on top of that, now they are introducing the first LGBT characters into Bluey, who are lesbian Chihuahua moms. Lesbian Chihuahua moms. They are the moms of a child character who is a Chihuahua named Pretzel. And people are celebrating this, saying, "Gay dogs in Bluey! Yay!" Like, this is something to celebrate, that there are gay dogs in this children's TV show that I don't watch.
For them.
But this was because Pretzel, in passing, mentioned my mom's in a sentence. They didn't even show the lesbian Chihuahuas. They were just mentioned, and that's like a huge milestone for the LGBT movement in general.
In the chat, Nerdy Film Girl says tons of kids have lesbian parents, though, so it doesn't feel weird anymore. So there was a debate going around online about the idea of whether it exists. You know, does it exist? Does that necessarily matter? And then the idea, does normalization need to happen with these
Doesn't
things?
matter because that shouldn't be normalized, but
that's,
you know.
That's what the debate people were having.
I'm homophobic. What am I going to say?
A lot of it was people talking about, does it, just because it exists, just because it's there, doesn't necessarily mean that the show needs to have it in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people who disagree with me and don't morally object to that would still feel the same way, that it doesn't have a place being shoehorned into the dialogue or the storylines of a children's TV show, because obviously that's being done for the purpose of activism and social brownie points. That's obviously the purpose behind it. And there is an agenda behind it beyond just, like, it's not organic, is what we're saying.
I remember when, so one of this funny examples, I remember when I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles versus Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, which I really, really liked. It was fantastic. It doesn't sound like it would be good, but it's a fever dream and it's amazing. Insane. And there's this scene where Batman beats the crap out of the turtles and he throws I think it's Michelangelo into a pizza shop, and then there's like he gets thrown.
Who are
in
you
the
supposed to
shop.
be rooting for?
Well, the point is they come together and then they fight.
Okay.
Bad guys. But he does this, and then there's like a lesbian couple breaking up at in the restaurant as it's happening, and it's like, I don't remember what year this movie came out, but that's what you mean, right? Is that it's like it's put in there, and it's succinctly put in there in a way that wouldn't draw attention to a lot of people, but it feels like a note from the studio that you have to include it, otherwise this isn't getting made.
Right, because they need celebratory articles to be written about the show, having representation. And I saw that one such publication, Seattle Gay News, reported that Bluey is a queer comfort show after debuting their first LGBT characters. And in this episode, it says, Pretzel, one of Bluey's classmates, subtly mentions their lesbian mothers when offering a moment of comfort to Bluey. While the moment was fleeting and easy for some fans to miss, LGBTQ plus viewers everywhere celebrated the episode for the normalcy behind the characters' same-sex parents. Bluey is just the latest children's show to depict same-sex parents. They also noted Paw Patrol and Peppa Pig did the same thing. I think PBS's Arthur did the same thing.
Yes.
And then it says that Bluey is making a move toward inclusive representation, but you're stupid if you're on the internet complaining about gay dogs. Here's what I would say. You're stupid if you're on the internet celebrating gay dogs as well. They're fictional, they're fake gay dogs. So why is it important to you? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. My
you can't explain that without sounding insane.
My issue for it is always that I just imagine the studio note that was written to do so, because it's all corporate art anyways, so it's not actually done through authenticity.
Yeah, but honestly, like, this is all besides the point. I hadn't even heard about the gay parents in Bluey. I was looking at all of these elder millennials on Twitter who were talking about how Bluey is making them sob their eyes out.
That's a more interesting discussion, I think, is the audience. It's not just the audience. The stuff about lesbian chihuahuas doesn't interest me. What interests me is a cartoon that started out for children that has become something of a crutch, like an emotional crutch, for very much adults, which is an interesting social discussion.
And if you say anything critical about that, if you say, like, hey, maybe as an adult, it's not the healthiest thing to use a children's TV show as your therapy session, they will come for you. They will attack you because they're so defensive about it. It's actually kind of scary. So Forbes actually reported Disney's new Bluey episode, The Sign, is making parents cry. Arguably, one of the best children's series ever made is in part because it's not just kids who like it, but it's extremely enjoyable for adults much of the time, with excellent parenting situations everyone can relate to. Sometimes Bluey goes over a cliff and really destroys everyone's emotions. The Sign, a brand new Bluey episode about 3 to 4 times the length of a normal one, is written by the series creator. It finds Bluey, Bingo, and their parents Chili and Bandit preparing for the wedding of Bandit's brother Rad and Bluey's godmother Frisky, 2 characters who first met in season 2. The title of the episode refers to the for sale sign in front of the Healer home. Because of the Bandit's new job, they're selling their house and moving, something Bluey in particular is not happy about. And while Chili is trying to be supportive, it's clear that she doesn't want to move either. So I guess that they just wrote this with such emotional resonance that parents everywhere watching this in the living room are losing their minds over it. Yeah. And I guess, like, regressing. They're like age regressing, basically. One parent said, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Bluey's The Sign absolutely effed me up. My therapist isn't going to know what hit her.
When you said earlier, when you said that they were using Bluey as therapists, I said that's impossible because all of these people have actual therapists.
Well, they also have therapists. Sensational. No, I'm not joking. Bandit and Chili are parenting goals. I love these characters so much. Another one, the emotional power of the Bluey special cannot be underestimated. I need a minute. One mother said, my daughter admitted it made her cry, and I've never known her to get emotional at films or TV. She watched it at 8 a.m. and then forced me and her dad to watch it because she was bursting to talk about it with someone. That's, a better account because at least your kid was watching it without you. Another one said, I never jerked a tear like this ever since the goodbye message from hologram Janeway in the season 1 finale of Star Trek Prodigy. Yeah, it's just a bunch of elder millennials saying that this gave them, quote, all the feels. Yeah. And it makes me cringe because you need to grow the F up, basically. Like, I don't care.
Regression of adulthood.
Yeah, like they're all in arrested development, stunted, like emotionally stunted, prolonged adolescence. Not just adolescence, like it's like prolonged toddlerhood, basically. Like they are the toddlers watching this show. And where is the entertainment anymore that is actually just for children? right?
I can give you the like the art, what I believe the art nerd perspective on this would be, which is that it symbolizes the universal nature of art, that it can get, that even something that's supposedly, I guess they would still advertise this as made for kids, that something that is made and produced for children can also resonate with adults, which speaks to the power of art. That's what I imagine they would use.
Okay, when it comes to comedy, I would agree. Like, my parents liked watching SpongeBob with me because it has jokes that adults can also find funny. But when it comes to a bunch of heavy-hitting, emotional topics and like themes of death, infertility, and miscarriage, and like just trauma and like anxiety and ADHD and like all of these trendy therapy topics and like psychobabble, that honestly I can say I feel it has no place in a TV show for children. And that's why I don't think that this is a TV show for children anymore. It's actually for the parents, or sometimes non-parents. Like, there are just single adults who watch this show, and they've admitted to it. One person said, is it too mean to say that while I appreciate a kids show that doesn't dumb stuff down for the audience, some of the adult fans need an actual therapist? And I would say they all have therapists. That's why they're such emotionally stunted individuals. But yeah, this is going from a show for kids to a show for adults with emotional issues, and I think they need help.
I think a lot of it is just how much time we spend watching content these days anyways, and not, moving back into the real world and experiencing life outside of narrative entertainment.
Well, also, imagine how emotional you could get if you were reading a book to your kids, right? Instead of letting Disney feed you all of this perklempt slop. I don't know how else to say it. I just think that they're kind of making every cartoon into something that ages with its audience. Like, they did that to Adventure Time, and then they did that with like Steven Universe, and there are also all of these adult cartoons that are like intentionally fake deep, like BoJack Horseman. I know if some of you guys are fans of that show, you're gonna get so mad at me, but I don't care. Like, it's just too much. I think that people need to get over themselves a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. It's honestly, the whole discussion is interesting to me because this will continue to increase because we are not becoming a more disconnected society. We're becoming a more connected society when it comes to entertainment. We're not watching less material. We're watching more. And I think a lot of it also goes to the fact that I was just reading all these articles today about the attitudes of people who are just not going to own homes, and they're not going to, even with a good career, you're not going to advance. So it's like, why am I bothering? Why try? I can escape into the world of some type of narrative entertainment. And if that has to be a cartoon about a blue dog, if it speaks to me, it speaks to me, and I'm not going to care what anybody else thinks because my life is going to be mediocre anyways. That's how I believe a lot of them. My life isn't going to improve from here, and there's a lot of nihilism really there.
You got a $20 from Corey Anderson. If you're an adult and watch Bluey without the kids, the FBI should come look through your computer. Valid?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that they're
not if
creeps.
They're writing,
I think
that
they're
it for adults. Not if they're if like you say they're writing it for adults now, then no, I don't necessarily believe that that's true.
Yeah, I think they're intentionally trying to capture this audience of emotionally stunted adults. Thank you.
There's
we say that like we're talking about emotionally stunted adults as we're sitting on a podcast.
Seriously, okay, so
lights flashing and money flying in the air.
There's a comment here that says, "If you, where did it go? I wanted to read this one." So John Z says, "If you need to live vicariously through a blue cartoon dog, shut off the TV and go outside and learn how to grow a garden." I mean, somebody from their world could come and say, like, if you need to live vicariously through a human vigilante who dresses up like a bat, you need to.
I guess you could kind of say that about anything, but
anything you identify with could be looked at that way. Then the argument becomes, well, my entertainment is more sophisticated than yours. And then you go, and it's a whole roundabout where everyone argues about just what ends up being preference. Now, would I ever watch? I don't really care about Bluey, but I'm just saying that I think that this is a response to the way society is going, and not necessarily indicative of these people, but more the culture that created the world they live in. I guess. I don't know.
I think that there is. Well, we're kind of going like way off.
I like it.
The topic.
I'm happy to go.
I think that there is such an overemphasis on like parenting ideologies these days. Yeah. I've seen Alex Clark talk about this a lot, actually, and like she has some guests on her podcast to talk about this. Like every parent has to have their own methodology of like how they can govern the development of their children to perfectly get the outcomes that you want. And if you do anything else differently, you're abusive or neglectful or whatever. And like there's the purity spiraling and everything. But when it comes to the programming that they let your kids watch, it has to be like emotionally deep and like resonant and encourage like very intimate conversations and like between parents and children. And I just have a feeling that taking an intense, possibly excessive interest in your children's emotional life is going to make them emotionally dysregulated adults.
Well, then the hard part there is like we talk a lot about parents who take no interest in what their kids watch.
There's an extreme of
so
both.
there needs to be a middle ground there. Nothing but Skibbity Toilet.
Just raise them on Skibbity Toilet and Roblox.
Butthead reruns, Ren and Stimpy, and G.I. Joe. That's all they're getting.
Well, I think that you need a steady diet of like Skibbity Toilet, Mr. Beast videos.
Hey, Mr. Beast
Minecraft,
is
Roblox.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.